Welcome to my presentation, which talks about the Uppsala model as developed by Jan Johansen and Jan Erik Wallne and first published in 1977 within the framework of internationalization theories. My name is Mario Glowik, and you will find the content in more detail to read in Chapter 2 of the textbook Market Entry Strategies, Internationalization Theories, Concepts and Cases. So what are major aims of this session? You should be able at the end of this session to explain contents and discuss conceptual weaknesses of traditional internationalization models, namely the Uppsala concept. The reason why it is called Uppsala concept is Jan Johansen and Jan Erik Wallne, when that model was developed, worked at the University of Uppsala in Sweden. That's why it is called Uppsala concept. Johansen and Wallne further developed the ideas of Carlson and introduced the Uppsala internationalization model in 1977. There's a basic assumption, namely market uncertainty in international business. And market uncertainty is usually related to limited market knowledge. Therefore, firms should follow an incremental internationalization pattern in order to better manage its limited foreign market knowledge. And very important terminology within the Uppsala concept is learning. Learning is a process of accumulating knowledge, either through access to market information or collecting business experience. Learning indicates a dynamic process where firms seek experiential knowledge about their clients and markets, as well as institutional elements of the foreign target market, such as local laws, governments, the local infrastructure, and the local culture. Another important terminology within the Uppsala concept is psychic distance. Psychic distance targets the disturbance and flow of information because of differences between the home market and the foreign target market in terms of language, differences in terms of culture, attitudes, religion, geographical locations, and also differences in terms of the political systems in between the home market and the foreign target market. Psychic distance results in a lack of foreign market knowledge, and therefore Johansen and Wallne within the Uppsala model recommend experiential self-learning. And this experiential self-learning should be realized through two paths to market entry, which is called an incremental internationalization process. So first of all, there is no international business, and then the firm may consider indirect exports through the help of an intermediator against payment of commission. And time goes by in course of learning. One day the management may consider direct export. That means to skip the commissioner. Direct export means launching direct customer contacts, direct negotiations, direct contracting. And then the more experience is available, the firm may consider riskier market entry modes such as international contracts in terms of licensing and franchising. And finally, foreign direct investment. The other path recommends us to start business in markets with lower geographical distance. That means in our neighboring countries, and then at later stages expand the business towards markets with higher geographical distance. Basically, it is assumed that the psychic distance in our neighboring countries tends to be low and lower than in countries indicating a higher geographical distance. So the Uppsala concept targets two crucial questions: how organizations learn and how their learning affects their organizational behavior in terms of the firm's internationalization process. Johansen and Wallner distinguish between state aspect and market commitment, state aspect market knowledge, change aspect current business activities, and change aspect commitment decisions. So let me explain step by step, and let's start with the state aspect and market commitment, which means the degree of commitment, for example, market-specific research and development, market-specific product or service modifications. And that degree of commitment is higher the more resources are vertically integrated in that foreign target market. For example, if the firm establishes a research and development laboratory in that foreign target market, then this serves as a vertical backward integration towards that foreign target market, and that means the degree of vertically integrated resources is higher. And second, there is a state aspect and market knowledge. So here we talk about the structure of competition, the supplier and customer characteristics and cultural aspects in the foreign target market. And this can be gained only through experience during operation in the foreign market and represent a unique, valuable resource for the firm. For those who are familiar with the resource-based view, by the way, there's another session available at YouTube which talks about the resource-based view. You will find common elements in between Uppsala knowledge and learning and the resource-based view in terms of unique valuable resources. And then as third, there are change aspect, current business activities. And this aspect targets marketing and sales activities belong to running firm business activities. For example, the higher the investment in distribution, communication, and advertising in a foreign market, the more sophisticated and differentiated the product and service. Therefore, the larger the total commitment as a consequence of current business activities. The total commitment in the foreign target market. And last but not least, fourth, which talks about change aspect commitment decisions. So firm decisions to commit resources, for example, financial, marketing, research and development resources to foreign markets depend on a firm's general business experience as well as market-specific experience. Market-specific experience leads to a stepwise increase of the operations and integration with the foreign market environment, thus resulting in higher market commitment. To sum up, the more market knowledge the firm acquires through its own learning and experience, the less is the perceived risk and the higher is the propensity for foreign market entry. In course of time, a firm internationalizes incrementally from physically and culturally close foreign markets, indicating a low psychic distance, to more distant countries and markets, indicating a higher psychic distance. The Uppsala is the or belongs to the most prominent internationalization theories, and consequently, a lot of critics came up in course of time. So let me list up some of the major critics. The Uppsala concept focuses on self-learning but ignores imitative learning. For example, we may think about a joint venture, and through joint venture activities, the management may gain also international market knowledge. But this is not considered by Uppsala because Uppsala focuses on self-learning. The Uppsala concept is based on Swedish firms' sample only, and each individual person perceives psychic distance differently, so it is difficult to define a common variable. So, for example, if we have two managers and one manager, for what reason ever, for example, he was participating in a students exchange program, he or she lived a couple of years in that foreign target country, speaks the foreign language, the local language, then in this case the psychic distance is lower for that manager in comparison to another manager who may have never ever visited that foreign target country. In modern industries, there's a tendency towards shorter product life cycles and faster knowledge transfer due to, among others, digital communication technologies. And therefore, an incremental market entry may cause losing sales opportunities because competitors operate faster than us. That is another critic. And by the way, that incremental market entry has common characteristics with the waterfall strategy, the timing strategy, as applied in marketing within the framework of functional strategies. And there's another session available at YouTube for you, which talks about the strategic fit of competitive and functional strategies. Another critic talks about international new venture firms or born global firms as a synonym of the new venture firm terminology. They start their international business early from the firm's establishment, whereas Uppsala recommends us to have no international business at the beginning and then to consider stepwise incremental market entry. And we see against the background of current modern business dynamics that, for example, these born global firms enter markets where they see opportunities, and therefore these modern startup firms who often make use of digital communication, digital technologies, app algorithm technologies, they do not follow an incremental market entry pattern. And entering the neighboring country is not necessarily attractive because countries located more or countries located in regions far away from the home market may indicate higher market potentials in terms of growth rates and market volumes. So therefore, it is not always recommendable to enter a neighboring market because the neighboring market is not necessarily attractive compared to other more distant markets indicating higher potentials. As we learned, Uppsala was published first in 1977. That was the area or era of manufacturing industries. Manufacturing industries mainly apply export activities, but it is less valid. The Uppsala concept is less valid for digitalized services industries. International business is not necessarily a forward-directed positive market entry approach. So the question is, what happens if the business is not successful in the neighboring country? In this case, shall we give up the market entry in the next country? Of course not. But Uppsala assumes that linear positive market entry approach starting in the neighboring country and then go further to more distant markets. And also the Uppsala approach ignores the follow the customer phenomena, which means let's assume there's a supplier and a customer. Let's assume the customer is rather a big customer. Let's take the example of Siemens. And Siemens contracts a smaller supplier because Siemens purchases some components from that supplier. And one day, Siemens offers to the supplier that they have in mind to establish a plant, for example, in China. And they would like to continue the business relationship with that smaller supplier in China. And then the question is for the supplier whether to follow Siemens to China or not. If they follow, then they can maintain or increase the sales volume with that customer, namely Siemens. But if they do not follow, maybe in worst case, Siemens may terminate that business relationship because they find another capable supplier in China. So what I want to say is that Uppsala ignores that follow the customer phenomena. The firm cannot always take the decision independently where to start international business activities. And last but not least, Uppsala ignores the importance of regional industry cluster. So let's take the case of Silicon Valley in California. We have a lot of firms doing business there, being real specialists in software programming, digitalization. So if we target to really become involved in these technologies, targeting to become a technological leader, we may have to consider to move to the United States, to California, because we have a lot of firms doing business there, and we have a corresponding infrastructure. We have also universities being specialized in software and digitalization, so that provides us with best prerequisites to gain qualified employees for our operations. And that is ignored by the Uppsala concept, that the importance of regional industry cluster. Because the global business is changing and also having the critics in mind, Jan-Erik Wahne and Jan Johansen then claimed in 2017, what happens in a firm happens in relationships. That means the focus went away from self-learning to learning through network partners, network actors, and that opened then the door to the network models, to network theories, where Jan-Erik Wahne and Jan Johansen also provided an enormous input to further develop these network theories. This is the literature I have used, and you may consider to go through as well in order to deepen your knowledge concerning traditional internationalization models such as Uppsala. And thank you for watching. All the best for you, further success in your academic study and in business. Thank you, and hope to see you next time. Bye bye.